We were talking about the weekly schedule of the lectures now. If you can see, right, week 1 is chapter 1, week 2, chapter 6, and so on. And here, in which week we will start the homework, where will be quiz 1, where will be quiz 2, where will be the midterm exam, and so on. The midterm exam, by the way, is announced already by the mechanical engineering department. They make a schedule of all the courses so that there is no clash with the courses. So that we will try to follow on. Now here I said tentative. Tentative means that we will almost definitely do it, but there may be small changes. Now chapter 1 is okay, introduction. But then generally we go to chapter 3, crystal structure, many other teachers. I will start with chapter 6, mechanical properties. When we will start, we will let you know why this is so. Now here we also say lab experiments. Unfortunately, this time, as I have written, lab experiments are through videos only, right? Are through videos only. So this is a very unsatisfactory way of doing things, that engineers who should be very practical people are doing things which are only possible on the computer, which is not very good, but we will see how it is. So this is the video, and all the way till week 16. The final exam date, if you know already on the course, you can see it is 3 January. So that is also there. Our classes are of course at 4:15 to 6:05 daily, and what I will do is, every time before that week starts, I will upload the lecture notes in the PDF format. So you have the book, you have the lecture notes, and then every day that we have the actual class, the Sundays and the Tuesdays, 4 to 6 roughly, before the class time, I will upload the video lecture also. For us, for teachers, this is a huge problem, of course, nowadays, a lot of additional work. I usually try to modernize my lectures every year anyhow. I go through my previous year's lectures, and if there is anything new in the world of material science and so on, I try to add them. So you keep on adding and improving your PowerPoint lectures already. But now I have to convert my PowerPoint lecture to a voiceover lecture so that you can listen to me, and then I have to convert this voiceover lecture into an MP4 video, and then I have to upload the video to the course Moodle website. So there is a huge amount of extra work for us, but that is how it is. Okay. Now, as I said, ABET certification is there. So ABET gives certain guidelines. This is not part of your course, but it is very good for you to know that ABET, which is the largest organization in the world for certifying engineering colleges and universities. Just like, if there is an industry which is making any product, then ISO, International Standards Organization, is a worldwide organization that will come and inspect and check and give you a certificate that this industry is world standard or not. So ABET, we do a lot of work, and then their teams come and they look at all our records and course files and labs, and they meet students and faculty and interview and so on. And in the end, if they are satisfied that if we are as good as any good American or Australian or English university, then they give us the certificate. So according to ABET, the first ability that students should have is ability to identify, formulate, and solve complex engineering problems by applying principles of engineering, science, and mathematics. This is the first ability. Earlier, ABET used to have abilities named A, B, and C. So number 1 now is actually ability A and ability E in the previous ABET scheme. A was an ability to apply knowledge of mathematics, science, and engineering, and E was an ability to identify, formulate, and solve engineering problems. So this is what you want to do as an engineer. You can identify that there is an engineering problem, you can formulate it in terms of a mathematical problem or so on. You can write what the problem is and you can solve the problem by using whatever methods of design and manufacturing and so on. To do this, you should be able to apply your knowledge of mathematics, your knowledge of science, and your knowledge of other engineering subjects, right? So when these two combine, then you get number 1. Here in SQU, we thought that ability A is too many things together. So therefore we divided it: applies knowledge of mathematics, applies knowledge of science, applies knowledge of engineering. So in this materials course, we usually don't do this. I am not testing how good your mathematics is, but these two we apply in this course. Similarly, from E, we are breaking it in SQU to identify and formulate the problem, and second, to solve the problem. You see, if I give you a material science problem, can you solve it? This is one thing. But I give you a situation and you yourself tell me what the problem is, then you can identify and formulate it, right? So that is E1 and E2. So this is only just to explain to you, and read A-bit outcome 4 or outcome J, A-bit outcome 6 or outcome B, and so on. B actually, is the ability to design and conduct experiments and to analyze and interpret the data. So B is the one that applies to labs. Unfortunately, this time labs are only online, right? So these are the A-bit student. With this quick background about myself, about the course outline, about how we are trying to satisfy different A-bit requirements of what engineers should be able to do and so on. So now we can start the main course, right? Chapter 1 is of course an introduction. So introduction to material science and engineering. Now many students feel that the introduction chapter is useless. Everything where we actually solve problems and do numericals and so on starts in the other chapters. Thinking like the students, some teachers sometimes also omit the chapter called introduction, that this is a waste of time. I have an exactly opposite view, that this is perhaps the most important chapter which should never be missed. You see why? There are two major things that I want to accomplish and which you hopefully would want to. That you see, if I straight away go to material properties, or if I straight away go to crystal structure, you are addressing only one topic, crystal structure. You are addressing only one topic, material properties. But what is the full course of material science and engineering? You have no idea. What is the relationship between one chapter to the other? You have no idea. What is the importance of this field? You have no idea, right? To me, chapter on introduction is a must. Okay, short coverage, but it is a must. So one thing, first of all, is that though we call the subject material science, but I prefer the book name as the subject name, not material science and engineering. We definitely understand. If you were in my class right now, I will ask you that, okay, tell me what do you mean by science and tell me what do you mean by engineering. Is there any difference? And now you will start to think and so forth. So I want you to do that. That pause the lecture right now, stop and think that can I define what is science in one sentence? And can I define what is engineering in one sentence? Right? And then I can proceed. So think on it. Once you think you have really thought about it, then you will tell me that okay, and then you can proceed with my lecture. You can pause the video anytime, you can go forward, you can go backward, right? People say that science means solving problems, but then engineering also means solving problems. But then math is also solving problems. So is math and science the same? No, and so, right? So I will tell you very briefly that any subject, you take materials, you take manufacturing, you take design. If we say the science part of it, then the basic understanding of that subject is the science part. And the application of this subject, the applied part of it, is the engineering. You have materials. Now, how are materials made? How are electrons and protons and molecules and so on arranged together? What are the properties of materials? Right? These are the science of materials. But how can I make a new material? How can I change the properties of a material? How can I use a material for my product? This is the engineering of materials, right? So the basic understanding of materials is material science, and the applied understanding of materials is materials engineering. Of course, we are doing the course on material science and engineering. Unfortunately, in the catalog and so on, it is called only material science. So it is material science and engineering. That is the first thing. Why do we do the chapter on introduction? First, you should understand the whole course together. The relationship of one chapter to the other, why these chapters are there, why they are arranged in a certain way, right? The relationship of the whole course. So that you cannot do unless you have an idea of chapter 1. And second, is this course important? As engineers, do you need it? Are you excited about it? Are you very bored about it? So I have these two purposes in the chapter on introduction. First, you should have an overall idea of the whole course, and second, you should start to get excited about it a little. Okay? Don't read, please. Right? Don't read. Just look at the picture. That will be my request throughout the course, that whenever I show you a slide which has some pictures on it, then please do not read. Try to look at the picture, and we try to understand without reading it. Then you really understand it. If you start reading, then somebody is already telling you, and you are a very small school child, you are not in the university where you open your mind and try to understand it yourself, right? Similarly, if I open a slide on which only writing is there, no picture, then don't read more than the first sentence. Read only one sentence, don't read the rest of it, and then think on it. Think about it. So, if you look at this picture, what do you think? What it is? Again, pause the video. Don't listen to me anymore. You think. Pause the video for 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Think about that. What is this picture? And you have some idea in your mind without reading the lines below. Okay, right? And once you have thought about it, then you go back. So actually now, I mean, it could be any picture on earth. It could be in Oman still. I mean, there are sand dunes at the back, and there are some mountainous ranges here and so on. But you see, this is the planet Mars. Planet Mars. And there were two things, Spirit and Opportunity. They were missions sent to Mars by NASA. And this thing shown here is a robot geologist. Robot geologist. It is a geologist would mean what? It will go around Mars and collect earth samples, geological samples, right? And then send them back to the earth and so on for a study. And it is a robot means it will work by itself. You know all the history of space travel. Man has only gone to moon. Right? Otherwise, any space mission to other planets and so on have always been unmanned, no man. So, right? So if you go to Mars, which is far, far off compared to moon, and you want to do some experiments there, what do? You send this robot geologist. The rocket will land there, the spacecraft. From this rocket, automatically this robot will come out, and then it will travel to different parts and so on. I will again take a very quick break so that I can wet the throat, and we will come back with you, inshallah.